All right, deep divers, ready to unlock some financial freedom.
Let's do it.
We are diving headfirst into Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Oh, yeah.
that cult classic by Robert Kiyosaki.
Classic.
You got your excerpts ready?
You know it.
Good, because we are about to unpack some serious money mindset shifts.
I am excited to dig in. This book really throws down a challenge. Why do the rich get richer while so many others struggle? It's a question almost everyone's asked themselves.
Right.
But Kiyosaki doesn't just pose it. He gives us a framework to understand it.
And he does it through this really clever storytelling device,
Yeah.
the two dads.
Yeah.
Now,
Mm.
I have to admit, when I first heard about this Rich Dad, Poor Dad thing,
Right.
I thought it might be a bit gimmicky,
Okay.
but it's actually brilliant. Kiyosaki uses these contrasting figures from his own life to highlight two totally different approaches to money.
Yeah, you have his biological father, the poor dad, a hardworking,
Right.
educated man,
Yeah.
but financially always struggling.
Yeah.
Then there's his friend's father, the rich dad, not necessarily more educated in the traditional sense, but financially savvy and always teaching Kiyosaki about money.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Kiyosaki's poor dad always said, go to school, get good grades, get a safe, secure job.
Right.
Sound familiar?
Totally.
But his rich dad had a completely different message. Work to learn, don't work for money.
And he drove this point home early on. Remember the story about 9-year-old Kiyosaki working for his rich dad for a measly 10 cents an hour?
10 cents an hour. I'd be demanding a raise.
Right. But this wasn't about the money. It was about the lessons.
Right.
His rich dad was teaching him about business, about spotting opportunities,
Yeah.
about making your money work for you.
Okay, so let's say you're listening to this
Yeah.
and you're thinking, all right, how do I actually make my money work for me?
Yeah,
Because that sounds great in theory,
sure.
but what does it look like in practice?
Well, this is where we get to one of Kiyosaki's most important concepts, the difference between assets and liabilities.
Okay.
And he defines them in a way that seems deceptively simple, but it can completely change how you view your finances.
Lay it on us. What makes something an asset versus a liability, according to Kiyosaki?
An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. So if you're stuck in that cycle of working for a paycheck and then spending most or all of it, you're essentially stuck in liability land.
And here's where Kiyosaki really shakes things up,
Yeah.
because he challenges this common belief that owning a home is always a smart financial move.
Right.
He's not saying don't buy a house, but he makes you think about it differently.
Exactly. He asks, is your house really an asset if it's draining your cash flow every month? You've got your mortgage payments, property taxes, maintenance, all those expenses add up.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, that dream home can turn into a financial burden.
It's like you think you're building wealth,
Right.
but if most of your income is going towards expenses,
Right.
and those expenses are tied to something that's not actually putting money back in your pocket,
Yeah.
then you're not really moving towards financial freedom, are you? You're on a treadmill, and that's a key distinction Kiyosaki wants us to understand.
Okay, so if pouring all our money into a house might not be the golden ticket to wealth,
Right.
where should we be focusing our efforts? What does Kiyosaki suggest?
He says you need to be minding your own business.
Okay.
And I love this phrase because it sounds so simple, yet it's incredibly powerful.
And he doesn't necessarily mean starting a side hustle, right?
No,
It's bigger than that.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's about building up that asset column, acquiring things that generate income, even if it's in small ways at first.
He illustrates this brilliantly with the story of Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's,
Oh, yeah.
right? When asked what business he was in, Kroc famously said, "I'm not in the hamburger business, I'm in the real estate business." He understood that the true value of his franchises was tied to the land they were built on.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant example of thinking beyond the obvious,
Yeah.
of seeing the underlying assets.
Okay, so this is blowing my mind a little bit.
Right.
It's like we think we know what a business is, but Kiyosaki is challenging us to look deeper, to see the assets behind the scenes.
Absolutely. He's asking us to shift our perspective, to
Right.
think like investors, not just consumers.
Yeah.
And this leads us to another crucial point, the way the rich approach taxes.
Now, I know taxes aren't exactly the most exciting topic,
Right.
but Kiyosaki makes it surprisingly engaging.
Yeah.
He argues that the rich use corporations to their advantage, legally reducing their tax burden.
What's fascinating here is that he's not advocating for tax evasion.
Right.
He's saying that the tax code is written in a way that favors those who understand how to use corporations strategically,
Uh-huh.
and he encourages readers to seek professional advice to learn how to do this legally and ethically.
This section definitely made me want to dive deeper into the power of corporations.
Yeah.
It felt like he was opening a door to a whole world of financial knowledge that most people don't even know exists.
Absolutely. He's peeling back the curtain on how the financial system works.
Yeah.
And that knowledge is empowering. It's about taking control of your financial destiny.
So up to this point, Kiyosaki has given us a lot to think about.
Right.
Mindset shifts,
Yeah.
understanding assets versus liabilities,
Yeah.
and even the tax system.
Uh-huh.
But he doesn't stop at theory. He actually offers practical steps you can take to develop your financial IQ, right?
He does. He talks about how the rich invent money. They see opportunities where others don't.
And he uses a great example to illustrate this point.
Yeah.
Remember the story of Alexander Graham Bell and Western Union?
Oh, I love this story.
Yeah.
Talk about a missed opportunity.
Right. Bell offered to sell the patent for the telephone to Western Union for a measly $100,000, and they practically laughed him out of the room.
Imagine being that guy.
I know, right?
But this story perfectly captures Kiyosaki's point.
Yeah.
Financial intelligence is about recognizing valuable opportunities, even when they seem unconventional or risky to others.
But it's not just about luck, right? Kiyosaki emphasizes that anyone can develop this kind of financial genius.
Right.
He outlines 4 key pillars of financial intelligence.
Yeah.
What were they again?
He talks about understanding numbers, which is essentially financial literacy.
Okay.
Then there's investing,
Yeah.
understanding markets,
Right.
and knowing the law.
Okay, so those are some pretty meaty topics.
Yeah.
But he's saying these are skills you can develop with practice and dedication.
Absolutely. It's like learning any other skill.
Right.
Whether it's playing an instrument or speaking a new language,
Right.
the more you invest in developing your financial intelligence, the more opportunities you'll be able to seize.
So we're starting to build our financial IQ. We're fired up, ready to take on the world.
Yeah.
But what about the roadblocks?
Oh, yeah.
Because let's be real, there are often internal obstacles
Yeah.
that hold us back from achieving our financial goals.
For sure. Definitely. Kiyosaki talks about 5 major obstacles that can sabotage our financial success.
Okay.
He lists fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance as the main culprits.
Okay.
Let's start with fear. It's a powerful emotion that can paralyze us from taking action.
He talks about how the fear of losing money is often stronger than the desire to be rich.
Right.
And that fear keeps so many people stuck in safe, but ultimately unfulfilling financial situations.
Totally.
But it's not just about fear, right?
Hmm.
He also talks about cynicism.
Yes. That it's all rigged mentality.
Yeah.
Cynics never win because they're so busy criticizing that they miss the opportunities right in front of them.
Then there's laziness,
Yeah.
which, well, I think we could all relate to that one to some extent.
Sure.
It's easy to get comfortable,
Yeah.
especially when we're somewhat comfortable in our routines.
But Kiyosaki reminds us that building wealth requires consistent effort and a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones.
And let's not forget about bad habits, like overspending or relying on credit cards.
Oh, right.
Those can really sabotage our financial goals.
Absolutely. He emphasizes the importance of building good financial habits,
Yeah.
like paying yourself first and living below your means.
And last but not least, there's arrogance.
Oh, yeah.
And this one can be tricky because sometimes we don't even realize it's holding us back.
Right.
He talks about how arrogance can make us resistant to learning new things and seeking expert advice.
Kiyosaki suggests a really interesting exercise. Identify which of these obstacles might be holding you back and
Yeah.
then actively work to overcome them.
It's about taking ownership of your financial journey, acknowledging where you might be self-sabotaging, and making a conscious effort to change those patterns.
It's about being honest with yourself and addressing the underlying beliefs and behaviors that are keeping you from achieving your goals.
For sure.
So with that in mind, let's dive into those 10 steps Kiyosaki lays out for getting started on the path to financial freedom.
Okay.
First up, he says, find a reason greater than reality.
He's talking about finding your why, that driving force that will keep you going when things get tough,
Right.
which they inevitably will.
And then he says, choose daily how to manage your money.
Yeah.
This isn't something you do once a year when you're feeling motivated.
Right.
It's about making conscious decisions every single day about your spending and saving habits.
Rather than letting your money slip through your fingers.
Right.
Be intentional about where it's going and what it's doing for you.
He also says, choose friends carefully,
Right.
which might sound harsh,
Yeah.
but he's talking about the power of our social circles.
It's about surrounding yourself with people who support your financial goals and inspire you to grow.
Right.
Because let's face it, negativity and doubt can be contagious.
Next up, he says, master a formula and then learn a new one.
Okay.
What does he mean by that?
It's about continuously seeking knowledge and developing new skills.
Okay.
So especially in the realm of finance and investing.
Don't get complacent.
Right.
The world of finance is constantly evolving, so
Yeah.
you need to evolve with it.
Exactly. And he stresses the importance of paying yourself first,
Yes.
even when money is tight.
Yeah.
This is huge.
It's about prioritizing your financial future, even if it means making sacrifices in the present.
And while we're talking about prioritizing, he also says, pay your brokers well.
This means finding experts who can guide you and help you make smart financial decisions.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to invest in expert advice.
Right.
It can save or even make you a lot of money in the long run.
He also advises to be an Indian giver. Now, I know this term can be controversial.
Yeah.
But in this context, he's talking about the power of getting something for nothing.
Okay, so explain this one.
Yeah.
How can you get something for nothing?
It's about finding creative ways to leverage your assets and negotiate favorable deals.
So it's more about being savvy and strategic rather than taking advantage of others.
Exactly. He also says, assets buy luxuries. This emphasizes the importance of building a solid financial foundation before indulging in expensive purchases.
Don't go into debt for that fancy car or designer handbag.
Right. Build your wealth first, then reward yourself.
He also encourages you to choose heroes,
Yeah.
people who inspire you to achieve financial success.
Who are your financial heroes?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a great question, and it's a very personal one.
Yeah.
But surrounding yourself with examples of success,
Yeah.
even if it's just through books or podcasts, can be incredibly motivating.
And finally, he says, teach and you shall receive.
Yes.
This is about the power of sharing your knowledge and helping others achieve their financial goals.
It's about creating abundance, not scarcity.
These 10 steps offer a roadmap for anyone who's serious about taking control of their finances and building a path towards financial freedom.
It's a powerful reminder that achieving financial freedom is not just about luck or circumstance.
Right.
It's about taking deliberate action, developing the right mindset,
Yes.
and continuously expanding your financial knowledge.
It's about taking ownership of your financial journey and creating the future you desire.
Absolutely.
But he doesn't stop there.
Right.
Kiyosaki leaves us with one final and perhaps most important question. Is your profession your path?
It's a question that really makes you pause, right? Because for a lot of us, our profession is just how we make money.
Right.
It's not necessarily something we're passionate about,
Yeah.
or even something we see as a lifelong path.
So is he saying we should all quit our jobs and follow our bliss even if it means being broke?
Not necessarily. He's not advocating for reckless abandon, but he is encouraging us to think about the bigger picture.
Okay.
What are you truly passionate about? What impact do you want to make in the world?
And how can your financial goals support that larger vision? Because that's the key, right?
Yeah,
It's about aligning your financial aspirations with your unique purpose in life.
exactly. Because when your work feels meaningful,
Yeah.
when it aligns with your values,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like work in the traditional sense. And that's when things start to get really interesting, both financially and personally.
This really resonates with me because I think for a long time I had this idea that financial success and personal fulfillment were somehow at odds with each other.
Right.
But Kiyosaki is saying that they can and should go hand in hand.
Absolutely. And this is what sets Rich Dad, Poor Dad apart from other personal finance books. Okay.
It's not just about accumulating wealth for wealth's sake.
Right.
It's about using financial freedom as a tool to create a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Okay, so this has been a lot to take in. We've covered so much ground,
Yeah.
mindset shifts,
Yeah.
the power of assets,
Mhm.
the importance of financial intelligence,
Right.
overcoming those internal obstacles,
Yes.
and of course, those 10 actionable steps to get started.
Right.
But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
I want to circle back to a couple of those steps because I
Yep.
think they're worth exploring in a bit more detail.
Absolutely. Which one stood out to you?
Well, for me, the concept of paying yourself first is huge because I think a lot of us, we get caught in the trap of paying our bills,
Yeah.
paying our rent or mortgage.
And then if there's anything left over at the end of the month, maybe we put a little bit into savings.
and that's how most people approach their finances.
Right.
But it's not the most effective strategy if you want to build wealth.
So what does it actually mean to pay yourself first?
It means treating your savings like a non-negotiable expense.
Okay.
Before you pay your rent, before you buy groceries, before you do anything else, you set aside a portion of your income for your future self.
Okay, so it's about making your financial well-being a priority,
Yes.
even if it's just a small amount at first.
Exactly. And this ties into another step that I think is so important. Finding good brokers.
Okay.
Because having the right experts in your corner can make all the difference.
He doesn't mean just anyone with a financial advisor title.
Right. It's about finding people who are truly invested in your success,
Right.
who understand your goals, and who are willing to guide you along the way.
So it's worth doing your research, asking for recommendations, and finding those trusted advisors who can help you navigate the often complex world of finance. And this is something that anyone can do,
Yeah,
regardless of their income level.
absolutely.
Right.
It's not about how much money you have.
Right.
It's about having the right mindset and the willingness to learn and grow.
Which brings us back to that final thought-provoking question that Kiyosaki leaves us with. Is your profession your path? Now, we've talked about this a bit already, but I think it's worth sitting with for a moment.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you?
For me, it's about finding that sweet spot where your passions, your skills, and the needs of the world intersect. It's about aligning your financial goals with something larger than yourself.
And that's a journey, right?
Yeah.
It's not something you figure out overnight.
Absolutely. It's about constantly exploring, experimenting, and being open to new possibilities.
So as you move forward, think about what resonates with you from this deep dive. What are some small steps you can take today to start building your asset column, developing your financial IQ, or even just shifting your mindset around money?
And most importantly,
Yeah.
think about that final question. How can you align your financial goals with your unique path in life?
Yeah.
Because when you do that,
Yeah.
amazing things can happen.
It's like that saying, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But it's not just about finding a job you love. It's about finding a way to make your work an expression of who you are and what you value.
And that's where the real magic happens.
Yeah.
When your financial goals are aligned with your passions and your purpose,
Right.
it's no longer just about money. It's about creating a life that is both meaningful and abundant.
So I have to ask, what was your biggest takeaway from Rich Dad, Poor Dad? What really stuck with you, even after you put the book down?
You know, it's funny, but it wasn't one specific piece of advice or a financial strategy that had the biggest impact on me.
Right.
It was the overall shift in perspective that Kiyosaki offers.
Okay.
He challenges so many of the conventional beliefs about money that we've been taught,
Right.
and he encourages us to question everything.
And that can be scary.
Yeah.
It's like he's asking you to step outside of your comfort zone, not just financially,
Right.
but mentally and emotionally as well.
Right. Exactly. He's asking us to take responsibility for our financial education,
Yeah.
to be proactive, and to never stop learning and growing.
Yeah.
Because the world of finance is constantly changing,
Right.
and we need to be adaptable and resourceful.
It's not about following a set of rules.
Right.
It's about developing the skills and the mindset to thrive in any financial climate.
And that's a powerful message, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about empowerment.
Right.
It's about realizing that we have more control over our financial destiny than we might think.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this. Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Right.
Don't be afraid to think differently about money.
Yeah.
And most importantly, don't be afraid to pursue your passions and create a life that is both financially rewarding and personally fulfilled.
Because when you find that alignment,
Yeah.
that's when the real magic happens.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit life-changing. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep into the world of knowledge and ideas.